Hey guys, this is Zaria or Zariah, whatever you want to go with. I am currently building in the video a factory restaurant, like an old factory restaurant that maybe the werewolves in the Moonwood Mill like took over, because there's not a restaurant in Moonwood Mill at all. There is a library, a starter home, a bar, and another home for some of the townies in this expansion or not expansion pack, this game pack. So I really got a lot of inspiration from James Turner's library build, and I kind of wanted to have the same kind of feel. If you look in the town around this lot, which is Prowler's Patch, there's a lot of milling equipment and wood and just piles of, just milling stuff just everywhere. So I wanted to keep with that same theme. So I made the old kind of factory feel to this build, and I, broke down walls and I just didn't want it to look clean. I wanted it to look dirty and dingy, you know, and I ended up going with a restaurant because James Turner's library build has like the gym equipment and the telescopes, and that build is very versatile, and I'm really glad he built that in this world because it was really needed. I feel like it would be awesome if we could put more than one lot type onto a build. It would definitely make more builds more versatile. Like you could build the library and the gym together on one lot, and I think that would make gameplay a lot easier. But for this one, it was just a restaurant, and it took me so long to figure out like what lot type I wanted. So when I did this one, I just started off building a broken down abandoned building. I had no idea what I was going to go with. So it was very like hard for me to come up with what I wanted to do. I almost, made it something else. I can't even remember what it was offhand, but I know that I didn't start off with a restaurant. It just started off as an old factory build. And you'll see later on in the build, I added a bunch of milling equipment and stuff, like piles of wood at the crane, and I wanted it to still have that old factory vibe to it, that it was abandoned and the werewolves have encroached into this Moonwood Mill town and just took over. So they end up building a restaurant so they didn't have to leave Moonwood Mill. That's the kind of vibe I ended up going with. I use the mostly the Moonwood or the mostly the werewolf pack items like the wallpapers and the beams like the spandrels and the columns and stuff like that. It really it looked awesome in the end, and I loved the open beams. And you can see them from the outside of the build, which I got inspiration from James Turner's build for the library. It was a great concept, and I just figured if I'm going to build this lot, I wanted it to kind of fit into what was around it. So I definitely wanted to kind of keep with that same vibe. Um, I haven't even put on the windows yet, but I do really, really enjoy the windows in this pack. I think they're beautiful windows. I do, however, wish that there was some cleaner versions of it, to be a little bit more versatile, but you can't have everything. So, and in a moment, you're gonna see me put a like sewer system down because again, I wanted it to really fit in to Moonwood Mill. So I'm gonna end up putting like a pool down there. So your Sims will probably end up wanting to go swimming on this lot. I almost didn't make it accessible, but I ended up making it accessible anyway. Um, So the inside of this restaurant, I didn't want it to be super clean, like a really nice restaurant. I wanted it to be very dingy, very broken down. The werewolves have taken over this town. I even put like in the back of the build later on, like a tent from the Get Famous pack, so it kind of looks like somebody was like camping out behind this old milling factory, which I just thought was a cool idea. And I ended up coming up with that like later, way later on, because I found it in the build and buy. Um, I don't even know what to call it right now, but I found it in the selections when I was looking around, because at some point in this build, I ended up just kind of looking around in build and buy and just looking for extra items. So right now, I'm just kind of getting the main part of it ready, and I'm gonna start decorating it with lots of other things. I ended up putting like trash and stuff because I really wanted it to look run down. And as you can see, I do use the crane from the build and buy like debug from this pack. I just think that is such a cool item. And my husband, he works in construction, so I wanted to make sure that I added that in. I also tried to put a gate there, but it just wasn't fitting. And I don't use the tool mod. I know a lot of simmers do. I personally don't. I don't know how to use it, so I just use my own knowledge on, you know, move objects and things like that. So as you can see, I pulled out some wood, because I wanted it to look like it was just abandoned. The crane doesn't stay in that spot. I do end up moving it where the wood is, and I end up putting dirt piles up underneath it to make it look like it was just buried in the ground, like it hadn't been touched in a long time. And I think I get those items from Jungle Adventure, but I really honestly can't remember. So in the back, you'll see that big industrial door, and it was kind of like a loading dock. So I end up putting like a big semi back there so that it kind of looks like maybe that's where all of the loaded items would go, like into the factory. Or now that it's a restaurant, that's where all of the food items get dropped off, was in the back. Um, I also had a really hard time figuring out a layout because I wanted to keep the second floor really open. Um, so when I was trying to put in like rooms on the bottom, it was very difficult. I kind of regret keeping it as open, but I really, really liked it. So I didn't want to take away from that. So I do struggle very much with the rooms downstairs, and I struggle with the stair placement too, and you'll see that here in a minute because I'm gonna start messing with the stairs. Um, but let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have been playing The Sims since Sims 1. You could say I even played before then because I used to play SimCity with my parents. Um, I enjoyed playing SimCity. It was a lot of fun building the city and everything, but you didn't get that same like God mode kind of feel that you get from The Sims where you can literally play God. And when Sims 1 came out, my mom had bought it for herself and she didn't get into it like I did. So I ended up playing it way more than she did. And I found like a super big love of The Sims from playing The Sims 1. And I used to, make families and just try to build houses. And um, I used to, my gameplay back then was, build a mom and a dad and have a family. And then I would end up stopping because I had already built the house, I had already built the family and played with the family a little bit, and then I'd move on to another new family. So, really, my gameplay for The Sims has always been in build mode. I didn't play The Sims 2. I kind of regret not playing The Sims 2, but I had a lot going on in my life probably at the time. So I didn't really get into The Sims 2, and I know that's probably something like I totally missed out on because I hear a lot of really good things about The Sims 2, but I have no idea how to play that game. Never played that game in my life. So The Sims 3 came out, and I didn't really play The Sims 3 until later in The Sims 3 like lifetime. There was already a whole lot of expansions and stuff packs and things that had already come out when I started playing The Sims 3. So when I bought it and started playing with it, I didn't know what I was doing. So I really had to learn how to build and things like that in The Sims 3. And I had such an awesome time playing that game. And The Sims 4 came out. I was very anti Sims 4 there for a long time because I had just learned how to play The Sims 3, and it was a long road to learning how to build in that game because of all the different like codes you had to put in and cheats you had to put in, like constraint leveling, and so I held on to The Sims 3 so hard that I didn't want to move on. So when I did finally move on to The Sims 4, it was like, wow, this is like so much easier to play and so much easier to build with. So I really got into The Sims 4, and I love building in The Sims 4. It's so much easier to build. However, I do kind of miss some of the gameplay from The Sims 3. Like, I just thought the gameplay and like there's so much missing, I think, still from The Sims 4, but I do believe that, the Sims team is trying to put better gameplay into the Sims 4. So I'm looking forward to Sims 4 continuously developing. I know a lot of people are waiting for, Sims 5, and I could care less about the Sims 5 as of right now. I'm sure once Sims 5 does come out, I will be super excited about it, of course. But for now, I'm fine with The Sims 4. My computer plays it just fine. I do get some lag, but it's not horrible. Whereas like The Sims 3, I had horrible lag, and I think that was because of like the create a style and the color wheel and all of that, which I do very much miss. The swatches in this game are very hard to work with sometimes, so I do kind of miss the creative style and using the color wheel to pretty much make everything yourself, make it look really cool. But anyway, back to the build, you can kind of see it coming together. I have built the kitchen and all of the tables are everywhere now, and it's really, really starting to come together. So I think I had only added the three tables up top and the three tables at the bottom. I didn't want to add too many tables because the Sims routing and around it and stuff, I didn't want it to make it unplayable. So I added everything that you needed for restaurants from Dine Out. And unfortunately, it looks a little out of place because Dine Out's items, they really look clean. I wish I could have made them look a little less clean, but that's okay. And I used a lot of industrial lighting, so the place kind of looks very dark when you're playing in it, but it kind of added to that old factory feel. I didn't really want it to be super clean and super like everything was just real clean. I just wanted it to look a little bit different. And it ended up working out really nicely. And as you can see right here, I'm starting to put the ladder down so that the Sims can get to the pool down there so they can swim down there. Of course, you can take that away if you want to. Oh, and right here, I got this also from James Turner from I think it was his underground builds that he did on stream. So in gameplay, you will see water spewing out of that pipe. and I just thought it was a really cool idea. So right now I'm kind of messing with it, and you can kind of see me going back and forth just to see how it looks in the actual gameplay. So I had a sim on this lot at one point, just kind of testing it out and stuff. So I've mostly got the build done now. A lot of it is going to be like decorations and things like that. So I added a ton of cracks. There's a few plants here and there. This is kind of where my pack usage kind of got a little out of hand because I ended up, like Jungle Adventure, the Snowy Escape plants. Those are kind of some of my favorites. So I didn't want to take away from my building inspiration because I thought, it looked really nice there. Um, and I wanted to make sure that the terrain paint kind of matched the world around it. So right here, I'm using the new terrain paint that came with the werewolf pack, just so it kind of blended in to where it kind of meets up with the lot. Back here, I used gravel though, so it kind of looked like the truck was, on top of something. And I really do enjoy terrain painting, so you're gonna see me do that a lot now. Just to make the lot, more cohesive, more, I guess, realistic in a way. I just wanted it to look a little bit overgrown. And oh, here we go. Now I'm starting to switch everything around. Excuse me. So you can kind of see I'm moving things around and adding a few things. I needed some water. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, this is the truck I think I ended up going with because I wanted it to look like it was a loading dock. And yeah, that's the color that I used, the green. So, and I wanted it to look like it had like backed up in there. I'm not sure how well that would work in real life, but that's kind of what I ended up going with. And as you can see, I'm moving the crane into the spot that I kind of wanted it in. I think I had moved it around a few different times and I wanted all of the wood near it and stuff. And this is when I open up the back because I wanted the crane to be able to like back up out of there if like in real life it would. So there's a lot of open spots here and there. And then I end up making kind of like a parking lot so that they can kind of, come up in their cars and just a little bit of realism. Not that we have cars in The Sims, which is disappointing, but it kind of added to the build, in my opinion. And I probably could have made it a little bit wider, but I ended up putting some trees and other things on that side of the lot. And here I go adding some of the plants from Debug. As you can see, I use the Twisted Mexi's Build and Buy catalog, or Better Build and Buy. It makes building a lot easier. And if you just look up Twisted Mexi, you can find it. Um, and I really do like some of the debug items that came with the werewolf pack. They're beautiful items. I did use this big log right here, and I was going to use those porta potties, but I didn't think that it was necessary, and I didn't think that it would work on this lot because it is just a debug item. But I just wanted there to be like trash and like overgrowth everywhere. I believe I use cottage living like little grass pieces and things as well. I'm really sorry, I keep coughing. I usually don't do voiceovers for this long, so you're gonna have to forgive me. So as you can see, I'm going through the build catalog and just looking for items that I thought would look nice on the lot itself. A lot of debug. There is so much debug, so hopefully that doesn't stop routing issues. I did not play test this build, so if there is any issues, I apologize. Um, I was kind of on a time constraint. I knew this video was going to be super long, and I should have thought about that when I knew that I had to do a voiceover because I've never talked this long ever, at least in my opinion. But I'm usually kind of a quiet person. I don't do a whole lot of talking, so this is kind of new for me. Oh, I really do love the flowers and stuff that came with cottage living and all these like grassy pieces, which I thought added to like this abandoned overgrowth that was just everywhere. And I believe I add the trash as well soon. And I do add like vines and stuff going up the building. And yeah, it's just, I just really had a lot of fun building this. And, I had no intention of actually uploading this build as my first video. I didn't think that it was going to be 30 minutes long or 30 plus minutes long. I kind of went overboard on all the debug items, but I was having so much fun building that, I just kind of went with it. And here I go adding all these vines and things. Um, Again, I don't use tool mod, so I kind of have to really adjust things at different angles and make it look, realistic or cohesive. And um, I want to say I should be adding the cracks and everything soon because that really starts to bring everything together. And I know I end up putting like a sign and like readjusting the roof later because I wanted to put like a sign up at the top of the build to make it look like it was an older factory that had just been abandoned. And this is kind of where I kind of wish I had tool mod so that I could have adjusted the height and stuff of these items. Because some of them do end up like poking out of the roof and stuff. So just gonna adjust the terrain paint a little bit. This kind of stuff I kind of learned from Devin Bumpkin or Aiden, if that's what you call him. He's an amazing builder, and he's probably one of my favorite builders to watch. So I learned a lot of like build tips and stuff from him, um, along with like Deligracy and James Turner, Little Simsy, Miss Griffey. Those are some of my favorite YouTubers that I have learned a lot from. And the terrain paint absolutely brings so much to a build. And I never used to build like that. I used to just, plop down my building and put a little bit of, items on the lot and then I'd be done with it. But I was just checking out, all the build, and this is where I kind of start fiddling around with a bunch of extra stuff. Like I probably could have finished this build already, but I wanted to just keep adding more details to the build itself. It just really brings the build to life, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. So I even put Strangerville in here with those old, like, disgusting barrels. Oh, and I did this too. I thought this was awesome. I ended up getting rid of some of this fencing to put this little fence piece down, like caution, don't fall in. And I put this old car here to, just keep the abandoned feel. I really enjoyed this industrial abandoned um, vibe that I ended up going with. So there's just junk everywhere. um, so if you want to subscribe to my channel, that would be awesome. You don't have to, of course. You could just watch my builds from afar, and I'd be okay with that too. Or you could like, subscribe, and I'll hopefully get another build out soon. I'm still learning how to record and do voiceovers and things like that. I'm very new to everything. I'm not super mechanically inclined, but it is a little venture that I wanted to do. So you'll have to let me know how I do. I really enjoyed doing this Um, it's something new, and sometimes you just need something new in your life. So I went with this. You'll have to tell me how I did. Oh, I even put these like big chimneys up. Unfortunately, I noticed later on that they're not in the same spot, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. And at this time, I was looking for the sign, and I ended up putting a debug like sign up. I think, oh, it's from base game, it looks like. Yeah, so I put this base game one up, and it kind of fits in with not only this build, but it also fits in with James Turner's build because of the yellow and the green. So on mine, I have like green beams and columns and stuff, and in his build, he had the yellow. So I figured both of these abandoned factories were, connected in some way at some point where, they were both, old milling factories, and the other one ended up being the library, and this one ended up being the restaurant. So it's an interesting cohesiveness, I think. So here I am putting in all of the cracks and everything into the build. And I added this rug that I really enjoyed. I like the tattered rugs that are in the game. I think it looks fantastic. And I'm adding just little things here and there, just kind of putting on finishing touches. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this build. Of course, if you did, it is on the gallery. My gallery ID is Zaria or Zaria89. It's ZARIAH89. So, feel free to download it. Feel free to renovate it if you'd like. I would love to see it. If you renovate it, you can always, I would love to see it on the gallery, all nice, fixed up, and rebuilt. So if you want to re-upload it to the gallery, you could tag it as hashtag Zaria89 renovation or reno or something like that. I would love to see what everyone does with the builds. Um, I even added like nasty marks everywhere. It's phenomenal. I really enjoyed doing that. I even added all that graffiti, like, you know, everyone came over here and just graffitied all over the place. Really adds to the grunge of everything. And there, I think that was also Get Famous, those big nasty cracks. I thought that looked great. Yeah, so in here I was kind of looking for, some like lot challenges and things like that. And I kind of left the menu and everything to be figured out by you in your gameplay. So if you want to, buy a restaurant, you can do that. But we are coming up to the end of this voiceover. At the end of this build are some screenshots and overhead floor plan shots so that all of you guys on console can also build it if you wish, because I know it's hard for you guys to get these kind of items and stuff. So if you can hear my dog in the background, I'm really sorry. He just started barking. But yes, it's Zaria or Zaria89 on the gallery. This lot cost about 53,000, just over, I think. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this build in this video. Please rate, subscribe, whatever you like. And I just hope you enjoyed it. Everyone have a nice day.